The night does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it enters quietly. It slips into your life through a silence you cannot explain. Through the heaviness in your chest when the world around you appears unchanged. Through the strange exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. There are seasons when pain does not scream. It simply sits beside you, patient and cold, waiting for you to acknowledge its presence. Most people spend their lives trying to escape pain. They run from it, bury it beneath distractions, numb it with noise, hide it behind smiles, or disguise it as strength. Yet pain has always possessed a strange persistence. No matter how far we travel, no matter how carefully we construct our lives, suffering eventually finds its way to our door. And perhaps that is because pain was never meant to be merely an enemy. Perhaps pain is not destruction. Perhaps pain is revelation. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It is the fracture that allows light to reach the hidden places within you. Just as a seed must split open before it becomes a tree, there are parts of the human spirit that cannot awaken without first being broken. The shell feels safe while it remains intact. It protects us from uncertainty, from vulnerability, from the unbearable weight of truth. But shells were never designed to become permanent homes. They are only temporary shelters. And there comes a moment in every life when existence itself begins to press against those walls from the inside. Growth is rarely gentle. The stone of the fruit must break so that its heart may stand beneath the sun. And so must you know pain, not because life is cruel, but because transformation demands it. There are lessons joy cannot teach. There are depths within the soul that comfort cannot reach. Suffering carves chambers inside us that happiness alone could never create. And although we often curse the storms that visit our lives, many of those storms arrive carrying hidden gifts. Pain strips away illusion. It reveals who we are when the applause fades. When certainty disappears, when the future no longer feels guaranteed. It forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore. Our fears, our pride, our loneliness, our dependence on things that were never permanent. And yet, hidden beneath all of this, pain also reveals something extraordinary. It reveals endurance. The human spirit possesses a terrifying and beautiful resilience. People survive nights they once believed would destroy them. Hearts continue beating after unimaginable grief. Souls continue searching for meaning even after being shattered by disappointment. You do not truly understand your strength while life is easy. Strength becomes visible only when carrying what you thought was impossible to bear. There are wounds that permanently alter the architecture of a person. Some pain changes the way you see the world forever. The loss of someone you love, betrayal from hands you trusted, dreams collapsing after years of hope, the quiet ache of becoming a stranger to yourself. And yet, even then, life continues to whisper, continue, breathe again, rise again, believe again. There is a strange mystery hidden within suffering. It has the power to either harden the heart or deepen it. Some people emerge from pain bitter, closed, resentful toward existence itself. Others emerge softer, wiser, more compassionate, more capable of understanding the silent battles carried by others. Pain introduces us to humility. It reminds us that every person we pass is fighting wars invisible to the eye. The smiling face at the store, the friend who says they are fine, the stranger sitting quietly beside the window. Human beings carry oceans within them that the world never sees, and perhaps that realization alone makes suffering meaningful. Because pain has a way of dissolving arrogance. The person who has suffered deeply often learns how to love more gently. They become careful with words, patient with weakness. understanding toward imperfection. They recognize that people are fragile creatures pretending to be unbreakable. But no one is unbreakable. Even mountains crack beneath pressure. Even oceans are disturbed by storms. Even stars collapse. Why then do we demand invincibility from ourselves? Why do we treat our pain as evidence of failure? There is no shame in suffering. To feel pain is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are alive. A living heart cannot remain untouched by loss, disappointment, fear, and change. The tragedy is not that humans suffer. The tragedy is how often they suffer alone. Many people hide their wounds because they fear judgment. They believe strength means silence. They convince themselves they must carry every burden without trembling. But true strength is not the absence of pain. True strength is the courage to continue despite it. Some nights will break you open. There will be moments when you sit alone with your thoughts and wonder whether the darkness will ever end. Moments when hope feels distant. Moments when even breathing feels heavy. And yet those moments are not the end of your story. Winter never asks permission before arriving. It strips trees bare. It freezes fields that once bloomed with life. It darkens the skies and lengthens the nights. To the untrained eye, winter appears lifeless. But beneath the frozen ground, life is still preparing itself. Roots continue their silent work beneath the surface. And so it is with the human soul. There are seasons when your life appears empty from the outside. Seasons when dreams seem buried, when joy feels unreachable, when grief settles into your chest like cold iron. Yet not all unseen growth is absent growth. Some transformations happen in silence. Some healing occurs underground. If you could keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of existence, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. This is difficult to understand because pain narrows our vision. It convinces us that suffering is permanent, that darkness is all there is, but life itself is woven from opposites. Joy and sorrow, birth and death, union and separation. Every season belongs to the same earth. To reject pain completely is to reject part of what it means to be human. The heart was not created only for a celebration. It was also created for endurance. And perhaps wisdom begins when we stop asking life to spare us from suffering and instead ask suffering to teach us something valuable. Pain can become a teacher if we allow it. It teaches patience when answers do not come quickly. It teaches surrender when control becomes impossible. It teaches gratitude for ordinary moments we once ignored. A peaceful morning, a familiar voice, warm sunlight across a quiet room. Things we rarely notice until suffering reminds us how fragile life truly is. Most people wait for extraordinary moments before they permit themselves to feel grateful. Yet existence itself is extraordinary. To wake up breathing, to hear laughter, to witness rain against a window, to feel music move through your chest, to love another human being despite the certainty of eventual loss. These are miracles disguised as ordinary experiences. Pain awakens us to them. There are individuals who spend their entire lives asleep inside comfort. They never question themselves deeply, never examine their spirit, never encounter the deeper dimensions of existence because nothing ever forces them inward. But suffering pulls us inward. It places a mirror before the soul, and though what we see there may initially terrify us, it also offers the possibility of transformation. Much of your pain is self-chosen, not because you wish to suffer, but because human beings often cling to what wounds them. We hold on to identities that no longer serve us, relationships already broken, expectations impossible to fulfill. We resist change even while change is necessary for our growth. Sometimes the deepest suffering comes not from life itself, but from our refusal to let go. We fear endings because endings feel like death. Yet, every new chapter requires the clothing of another. The person you once were cannot accompany you into every stage of life. Certain versions of yourself must be released. Certain illusions must collapse. Certain attachments must dissolve. This process hurts. Transformation always does. The caterpillar likely experiences the destruction of its former self as catastrophe before becoming something capable of flight. And perhaps humans are not so different. There are times when pain acts as a physician, a bitter remedy healing parts of us we did not even realize were wounded. It exposes toxic patterns. It destroys false foundations. It interrupts paths that would have eventually led us toward emptiness. At first, we resist the medicine. We curse it. We ask why life has become so difficult. Only later do we understand that some suffering protected us from greater suffering still. The physician within you knows what your conscious mind cannot yet comprehend. And so there are moments when the wisest thing you can do is trust the process of healing, even when it feels unbearable. Healing is not always beautiful. It is often messy, exhausting, and painfully slow. Some wounds close quickly, others linger for years. Certain scars never fully disappear, but scars are not signs of failure. They are evidence that healing occurred. A scar says, "This pain visited me, but it did not destroy me." There is dignity in surviving. There is dignity in continuing to love despite heartbreak, in continuing to hope despite disappointment, in continuing to rise despite exhaustion. Human beings are astonishing creatures. Again and again, they rebuild themselves from ruins. Again and again, they discover light inside darkness. Again and again, they endure, and perhaps endurance itself is sacred. The world often glorifies happiness while treating sorrow as something shameful. But some of the deepest art, wisdom, compassion, and beauty ever created emerged from suffering. The human soul frequently discovers its greatest truths in moments of despair rather than comfort. This does not mean we should seek pain. It means we should not waste it. Every hardship carries the possibility of awakening. Every wound carries the possibility of wisdom. Every ending carries the possibility of rebirth. The challenge is not avoiding pain. The challenge is remaining open-hearted while moving through it. Because pain can close you. It can make you distrustful, cynical, emotionally numb. It can convince you that vulnerability is dangerous and love is weakness. But a closed heart may avoid suffering while also avoiding life itself. To love deeply is to risk grief. To dream greatly is to risk disappointment. To live fully is to risk pain. And yet the alternative is far more tragic. A life untouched by suffering may also become untouched by meaning. There is a quiet serenity that eventually comes to those who stop fighting every storm. They begin to understand that emotions are temporary visitors. Grief arrives, but it also changes shape over time. Fear rises, but it does not remain forever. Despair whispers lies, but it is not eternal truth. Like seasons, feelings pass through us. No wind lasts forever, and even during the coldest nights, the earth continues turning towards spring. You must remember this during your darkest hours. The pain you feel today is not the final definition of your existence. You are larger than your suffering, larger than your mistakes, larger than your grief. There are still unseen chapters waiting for you. Still laughter you have not yet experienced. Still people you have not yet met. Still moments of peace waiting quietly somewhere in your future. Life is unpredictable in both its cruelty and its beauty. Sometimes the very thing that nearly destroys you becomes the thing that awakens you. Sometimes losing everything teaches you what truly matters. Sometimes heartbreak teaches you how to love more honestly. Sometimes loneliness teaches you how to finally meet yourself. And sometimes pain becomes the doorway through which wisdom enters your life. The cup brought before you may burn your lips. It may feel unbearably heavy in your hands. You may not understand why you were asked to drink from it. But not every bitter thing exists to poison you. Some things arrive to purify you. The clay from which your suffering was shaped has been touched by sacred hands. There is mystery in this life beyond human understanding. There are reasons the soul grows through difficulty. Reasons hidden beneath experiences we cannot immediately explain. One day, perhaps years from now, you may look back upon certain painful seasons and realize they were quietly preparing you for the person you were meant to become. You may discover that your deepest wounds became the birthplace of your deepest wisdom, that your sorrow taught you tenderness, that your loneliness taught you self-understanding, that your heartbreak taught you compassion, that your suffering taught you strength. And perhaps then you will finally understand this truth. Pain was never merely punishment. It was transformation. It was the breaking of the shell. It was life itself calling you toward a deeper awakening. So when suffering visits you again, and it will, do not immediately ask why this is happening to you. Instead, sit quietly for a moment and ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? What part of me is being reshaped? What truth is struggling to be born beneath this sorrow? Because even grief carries hidden wisdom. Even darkness carries seeds of light. And even broken hearts continue beating, one breath at a time, one season at a time, one fragile, miraculous day at a time.